Ladies and gentlemen, this is Sunday, the 11th of May. Yay! The year is halfway almost over. Um, got a lot to talk about. It appears that Mr. Trump is doing some things that seem like they might benefit somebody. I mean, who knew? All right, enough about that. Uh, yeah, I'm tired. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a couple of things I need to talk to you guys about. I received an email today from someone saying that the IRS returned their documents, said it was a frivolous filing. I want you to pay attention. I asked them who did the documents. I thought it was Datamask because Datamask had done the math for the person, but they didn't file the taxes. They didn't complete the taxes for the person. Datamask is not tax preparers. We tell people that all the time. We just add the numbers up for you. Now, look, if you follow the procedures, follow the policy, the math is easy. All you got to do is fill out the correct lines. I'm sorry that many people don't understand that, and I really do apologize. Well, the person emailed me back because I wanted to know who did the taxes for them. I thought it was, could have been our fault. So I wanted to make sure. And they told me, no, they did it. Well, the same thing with the other person who got their junk returned back to them because you guys are not following their policies, their procedures. These are their rules you're following. Now, every video, go back and look, go back and listen, go back and see. Do I not say you have to do your own research? You have to do your own homework. Now, I know I said that too many times because I've been saying it since I started publishing anything on the internet. I told you guys about tripod.com, now Lotus, Locust, whatever it is. And I told you how at the very bottom of the screen it says, you must be a responsible adult and do your own homework and your own research. I've been saying that from the very beginning because why? From the very beginning, I was made to do my own homework and research. Nobody did that for me. I had to go do it myself. I told you guys about the mechanic. There's a guy named Tidy Bowl who killed the mechanic. I knew Tidy Bowl. The mechanic was my friend. He was my father's mechanic. When I was 15 years old, I bought my first car at an auction. It was a Pinto, a 1972 Pinto. And the first thing to go wrong with the car was the alternator. I knew nothing about cars. I'm only 15 stupid years old. So I take my car. Yes, I had my license at the age of 15. I take my car to this mechanic and I said, how much will you charge me? He told me the price. I said, fine, here's the money. He says, oh no. He says, you are going to pay me, give me that, but you are going to do the work. I looked at him like he was crazy because he must have been crazy. Mother, I'm going to pay you for me to work on my own car? You must be out of your mother. That's the way I looked at him. But I said, excuse me? He says, because you don't understand. He says, if I do the work for you, then you're going to be taking your car to people to do the work for you for the rest of your life. But if I show you how to do the work and show you how easy it is, then you will save yourself the money from now on. Do you know what? He was absolutely right. I cannot begin to tell you how much money I saved for doing work on my own car, and I've gotten to the point where I refuse to work on my own car. So now I pay people to work on my car because I don't want to do it myself. I paid someone to do my taxes because I don't want to do it myself. I created SATCOM as an organization to do the work for people who don't want to do it themselves. The members of SATCOM could tell you that that's exactly the reason why I did it. We do the work so you don't have to, but we won't do all of it. Please, I'm not going to detail your car. You brought it in here to have me clean your floor mats. I'm not going to sit up there and clean the whole car. You must be out of your mind. You better get them french fries up off that seat because I'm only doing the floor mats, not doing your seats. I'm not going to do your windshield. I'm not going to check your wipers. I'm not going to check the fluid. I'm not going to check your brakes. I'm not going to check your tire pressures. It ain't happening. What I'm trying to say is, ladies and gentlemen, if you hear me tell you, hey, You can do this. Hey, you should do that. Hey, if it were me, that's what I would do. And you go out there and you do it without doing your own homework and research. That was a choice. You made a decision, an executive decision. You made an adult decision. Don't you dare, none of you, come to me telling me about your problems and making it appear that I said something or did something wrong. You selfish mother. I apologize. Two people came to me and they said, this is what we need, this is what we want. Look, we don't have any money. We're struggling to survive. We have 5 kids, technically, ladies and gentlemen. I told them I can't pull nothing out of a hat. I told them I will tell you what you need to do, but you have to do the research. I am not going to tell you everything because you have to do the research. They weren't happy. They were disappointed. They felt like they spent $550 for nothing, for a consult, for nothing. We didn't get nothing. He just told us to do research. Ladies and gentlemen, I didn't tell them to do just any research. I gave them specific research to do and the method in which to go about doing that research. This was before ChatGPT, GPT. This was before that. This was where I had to explain things and go into detail without having ChatGPT back me up, black me up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm tired. That's what happens when I'm tired. So just get used to it. Um, I'm going to sleep. As soon as like I said, I'm got a sore throat, so I am a little sick, and this has been going on for a week. You know what? I'm gonna check. Y'all don't mind? I'm gonna check my temperature while I'm here on this call. Come on, thermometer. 1 second. Okay, got a slight rise today. I am 87, I mean, excuse me, 87, 98.7. Now you're going to say, well, that's normal. No, normal for me is 97.3. I even had a doctor tell me, if your temperature is 97.3, you'd be dead. Look here, you stupid idiot. It's because of the malignant hypothermia. My temperature is 1.3 degrees lower than it normally should be. So 98.7 is a little bit, not a lot of bit, a little bit. It was 98 point, was it 98.2 today? I did it earlier in the other video that I did today. So we're not having any issues. It's just like I said, it is a cold. I can tell it's a cold, and I haven't taken my vitamin C today. I got to go get me some vitamin C. I've been drinking some water, and I'm about to eat me some pancakes. Yes, believe it or not, I'm about to eat some pancakes and eggs for dinner because I haven't had pancakes in a while, and I just feel like pancakes. Is that okay with you guys? What? I had nothing but vegetables and rice yesterday, and I did my Chinese thing. But my Chinese thing is steamed, not fried. You follow me? I steam my food because I want to keep the nutrients. And so it's just my thinking that if I steam it as opposed to frying the nutrients out with all the high heat, yay, I can keep it and absorb it and eat it. So there you go. I'm not on any medications, thankfully. Haven't been on for 3 years now. Yay. That's the health update for those of you who are concerned because some of you are, and I know. Let's finish talking about the couple. I spoke to him in between the 2 times, between this time today and the original time. And I gave them some pointers as to some other things they needed to do because pay attention. This was at the beginning when we were talking about the credits and telling you guys about getting your credits by filling out your 1099Cs. Those of you who have filled out your 1099Cs, you haven't lost anything. You just need to complete the process. So pay attention. They did their research And they got to the point where they got it documented. It was on their transcripts. That's right. There's idiots out there saying that it's not being put on people's transcripts. Don't listen to those idiots because I have the proof. I just can't show it to you because it's their records and I'm not trying to put them out on Front Street. You feel me? I don't talk about things unless I can back it up, people. But I don't have to prove nothing to none of you stupid, ignorant mother. And I mean that. I don't have to prove a thing to none of y'all. This ain't about me having receipts. This is about me giving you information and you proving it. Prove me wrong. Don't say I'm wrong. Prove me wrong, you stupid mother. I apologize. Whew. Lord have mercy. I get tired of this stupid generation that we're existing in right now. The amount of ignorance that goes through these people's heads, I don't get it. If I say something and you think I'm wrong, then prove me wrong. Don't sit up here and say I'm wrong. Prove me wrong. So they didn't appreciate me telling them that they were going to have to do the research. But guess what? They did the research. They got their credits. $2.5 billion. And then the next one, because they are a couple, $2.9 billion. Holy! Ladies and gentlemen, do you see that right there? Do you see that right there? Almost $6 billion in credits on their transcripts. I'm not going to tell you how much the total was because it's a lot more than that, more than double on their transcripts. But people, that don't work. You can't do that. Blah, 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 because you're not doing no research, and I'm not going to tell you what research to do because that ain't my job. They paid for a consult. I pointed them in the direction. They did their research. I've given you guys most of the information. The only problem is you don't stay through the whole video to listen to the whole thing. No, you want to be one of those cut and runs. So that's what you get. I do hour-long videos giving you guys all the details, and you want to cut out at 30 minutes. You want to skip past. That's your fault. I do it that way on purpose. Go ahead. Look at how long this video has lasted, and how much have I given you so far? Exactly. Because I don't appreciate individuals who leech off of me. You're just coming here for information, and then you want to cut and run. Get the out of my face, literally. I don't want to be around none of you who are like that. You don't have to watch my videos. You don't have to come here. I don't care what you say about me. I can't stand leeches. If you are my people stay till the end. Look, I will tell you this. I have individuals telling me they watch me 3 hours a day. Now, I'm not looking for followers. Y'all don't see me asking for followers. I'm not looking for subscribers. I don't give about no subscriber. Okay? I'm not here for subscribers. I'm here for my people. Well, who are your people? If you got to ask that stupid question, you ain't one of them. Now back to the hotel. Ladies and gentlemen, they had enough credits that they went to a bank and they tried to get a, pay attention, $20 $20 million loan based on the credits. And they were going to post $60 million in credits. The bank was working with them, trying to figure it out, and the bank, they didn't know what to do. They wanted to, they could see the credits are there, but they didn't have a procedure for it. And the couple didn't know that. They did not know that the bank didn't have a procedure for it. Oh God. The bank gave them all kind of hoops to jump through, even telling them that they needed to have a bond. But I thought the amount was too much. I personally thought the amount was too much. So when they were creating a bond, I helped them, and I even posted the bond that I helped them create. But what I didn't do, because remember, they still had research to do. They still had learning to do. So I didn't tell them how to collateralize the bond. I haven't fully told you guys how to do it either. I'm just now getting to the point of delivering that information to people. You can collateralize your bond. It's not a big jump. It's not a big hoop. Lord have mercy. The banks do it all the time. Ladies and gentlemen, I just told you when they did mortgage-backed securities, they created the process. So go back and read the act. They created the process for you. They streamlined the process today. Go back and read the original process and then look at the current process. And now you have your process, not my process. I don't have a process. I can only tell you what you are able to do. I haven't done any of this. Why? Ladies and gentlemen, I don't have the time. I literally don't have the time. I've had two, this is Sunday, and I've had two consults. Now pay attention. One person's incarcerated, so he has to have Sunday. The other person were those two. Yes, I told the individual because somebody said that everything I told you guys was fake. So I had that person speak up and tell everybody, hey, you did file your tax credits, right? She said, yes. I said, and they're documented on your transcripts, right? Yes. And I said, and it's quite substantial, right? Yes. Over $900 million, right? Yes. I said, well, then you, and told the husband's name, y'all give me a call on Sunday after 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we gonna talk. And I gave them 40, no, actually it was an hour. I gave them an hour of my time today, and we talked about the things they need to do to finalize everything they're doing, including starting a company. Why? Why? I can't tell you. I can tell you it's a whole lot better than getting credits on a stupid transcript. I can tell you that they are going for funding themselves without having to ask the bank for a loan. Some of you will figure it out. But there are people out there saying that, nah, he don't know what he's talking about. That stuff don't work. Ladies and gentlemen, they did the research. So I'm asking them to put together a company so that they can explain this to you guys, and they're going to get part of that funding, and they're going to fund the company to teach you this. Ta-da! Because that's what I do. That's what I do. They have given me some information. I can't look at it right now, but I asked them for it because I have a couple people. One guy filed a, pay attention, he filed a Chapter 11 bankruptcy. I've been helping him for 4 years. He's still in his home, but now the IRS wants to say, well, if you're filing for your sole proprietorship, we don't have no filings from you, so we need you to document this. I told you all, SACCOM is getting ready to start helping people document their sole proprietorships so that you can start operating in the public the proper way. That's right, and then you can stay in the private when you need to. That's what SACCOM's getting ready to do for you. But hold on now. For him, I'm going to show him what he needs to do in order to respond to those individuals. Okay? Now, if you get the same situation, just document your property as a loss, the agreement with the bank, and the fact that they got paid and you ain't got no money, that they ain't never gave you nothing, and that it's as a loss. And here, they are saying I owe them money. I don't have any money to pay you. I haven't had any income. Oh, I'm sorry. If the IRS tells you owe them money because you haven't filed, you just have to send them a letter saying, I didn't have any income. Do you have any evidence showing that I received an income? And if so, please show me that evidence. That's all you have to do to them. All you guys sitting there arguing back and forth, you ain't got to argue. They are using a presumption. And as long as you don't respond to that presumption properly, please show me your evidence. Because I don't have no records that agree with your records. So please show me your records. I would really appreciate it. You guys are accountants. So show me your records and show me how you came to that conclusion. Because that seems to be a far-reached conclusion. Just that simple. So ladies and gentlemen, in a nutshell, I'm doing this video because I told the couple today, I asked them this, I said, so at the beginning, before you were told to do the research, you weren't happy. And he said, I didn't appreciate it. I didn't like the way it was delivered. I said, well, you got to understand, it's not the delivery you should be focused on. You should be focused. Yeah, I learned that. Focused on the information. I said, okay, so how are things now? He says, phenomenal. The amount of stuff that I've learned, the amount of stuff that we've learned and what we're capable of now, I wouldn't trade it in for nothing. I want to thank you. And he just kept thanking me. Ladies and gentlemen, I didn't do anything. All I did was told him what he needed to hear, not what he wanted to hear. Don't call me no stupid oracle, okay? But it's the same program. Teach a man to fish. That's what I was taught when I learned how to put that alternator on that Pinto. By the way, that Pinto lasted me for 4 years, so don't knock it. Oh no, I finally, what is it? I gave it to the junkyard. I didn't want it anymore. I mean, it saved on gas. I was getting 30 miles to the gallon. Pintos are no joke, people. Hey, Pintos are not a joke. I was getting 30 miles to the gallon. That's why I didn't want to get rid of my Pinto, but I traded the Pinto for a Honda Civic. And that Honda Civic, that piece of junk got me 30 miles to the gallon. So don't knock it, okay? All right, let's get back to the conversation. Somebody taught me how to fish. Maxine Waters taught me how to fish. All of my life, people have taught me how to fish. Nobody has ever gave me a fish. They have all made me work. I don't have fish, people, to give you. I'm only going to give you enough crumbs. Like the guy said, I give you guys breadcrumbs. I'm going to give you enough breadcrumbs so that you can finally find your way to the store that's giving away the food for free. So, those of you, don't give up on the credits. Go get your credits. File your 1099-Cs. Just file them for now. SATCOM is going to create a program based on what these two individuals have helped me with and what we were already doing. We were getting ready to do this anyway. It's just after speaking to them, he told me of a particular shortcut that I don't have to go through the long and around way. He found a shortcut on his own. I didn't tell him this shortcut. I knew it was there. I just didn't know where. Because look, I haven't read all of the rules. I haven't because I'm not doing everything that you guys are doing. I'm too busy working on too many other things. Okay? So, in the meantime, you know the forms that you have to work with. So, study those forms. You don't have to study every word. Study what you're trying to do. They'll tell you all the things you can't do. Then find out what can you do. Find out all of the things that it prohibits you from doing, and then think about the things because this is what he figured out. You think about the things that you're allowed to do after you find out what you aren't allowed to do, and then you start focusing on the things you're allowed to do. How do you think I got to the point of understanding you can write off your debt? You can write off your taxes. Oh, okay, ladies and gentlemen. He figured out what I've been telling you guys that you can use your credits to pay your taxes. He figured it out on his own. He just did the research. So I got to give him the credit. Okay, but we got all of these people wanting to challenge me because they can't figure it out for themselves. He didn't know nothing about taxes, people. But you can't check him now. Yeah, I think he got a little too self-confident, and that's one of the problems we had at first when we were communicating after he did the research with the bank. I didn't appreciate that. He thought he knew more. He didn't say that to me, but that's the way he came across, as if he knew more than I did, because he went over the documents and I told him I hadn't. But I explained to him today that I have been going over policies and procedures. I'll say it again. Verdi! Her name was Verdi. Verdi Jones. We're not related. Verdi was my supervisor. She was a Jehovah's Witness. I don't know if Verdi's still alive. I hope Verdi's still alive because Verdi was a nice woman. Just, I was too many generations below Verdi. Her name was Verdi, okay? And Verdi, my supervisor, was hard on me. She wasn't soft on me. But Verdi and I didn't know each other aside from the job. I'd never seen her at the Kingdom Hall because she went to a different Kingdom Hall. There are over 120,000, 30,000 Kingdom Halls in the world today. The exact number is not known. Why? Because several countries have banned Jehovah's Witnesses, so we can't tell the exact number to the public. But just understand, there's just too many of us to know every single one of them, even in the city that we live in. But Verdi and I didn't get along because she was my supervisor, but she was a woman, and I had the mindset, as the scriptures say, that a woman should never exercise authority over a man. I had the mindset that that's 24 hours a day. That's not 24 hours a day. That's in the home and in the congregation. A woman can be a supervisor. A woman can be a president. A woman can be, what do you call it, exercising authority over a man when it's their job. I didn't have that concept as a kid. And so Verdi and I didn't get along because of me, not because of her. But Verdi came to me one day. Now I'm 16 years old when I'm working for the Army Corps of Engineers in the federal building downtown Los Angeles. I'm the youngest person in the building, people, but I'm working there. And Verdi and the other supervisors come to me and say, we need to ask you a question. Could you come here for a second? I'm thinking I'm in trouble. Yes, what can I do for you? Well, we're getting ready to have a meeting and we want you to sit in. Okay. Yeah, we think that you might be very helpful in this meeting. I said, okay. So they sat me in the meeting, and the meeting was what? They were redoing the policy for the entire building. Now, I don't know if you know the federal building downtown Los Angeles and all the different departments of the federal government that's in that federal building. That's the federal building for the entire county of Los Angeles. I said, okay. And they would go over some of the policies and they would read the policy. I said, well, no, you can't say that, because if you say that, then they can think this and they can also do that. You need to be able to say it this way, blah, blah, blah. And they would change the policy because I've been this way all my life. I'm a 16-year-old kid writing policy for the federal government. So the next time you try to check me as far as what I'm capable of, what my ability, Lord have mercy. Now, let me do this. At the age of 13, they wanted to make me the leader of a gang. Now, of course, I said no. My response was, those are grown men. How am I supposed to sit up here and tell grown men what to do? That don't make no sense. I'm a kid. That's what I told them. And then at the age of 16, while I'm working for the Army Corps of Engineers, I go and apply for being a volunteer. Well, I got paid worker for the census. I get there. They don't know I'm working for the Army Corps of Engineers, but they make me a supervisor of 70, 60, 50, 20, 30-year-old people. I'm the youngest again. So the next time any of you try to challenge what I know, you need to go ask somebody. But you don't need to come talking to me, because I don't want to hear nothing you have to say. You don't have the right to challenge me. If you want to challenge me, you better come at me with proof, facts, conclusions of law. The same thing I tell a judge. Most judges on the bench don't have the experience that I have, and that's why they don't challenge me. Go ahead. Go ahead, look at all of the cases that I done filed. Civil, criminal, doesn't matter. Look at all of them and notice how no court has ever challenged my knowledge. Ever. So why would I let some person coming and watching some video challenge my knowledge? Again, if you're going to challenge me, and I don't mind a challenge, I enjoy challenges. But as I told people when I was growing up in school, I don't accept challenges, I give them. So prove me wrong. Take the information that I give and don't say I'm wrong. Prove me wrong. And I will acknowledge you. And I will say I was wrong on record. And I will let everybody and their grandmama know I was wrong. Up for the challenge? Well, by all means, up for the challenge, because by accepting the challenge, you know what you just did? You just educated yourself and made yourself a whole lot better than you were before we started this conversation. That's what you have to do, people. You have to accept the challenge and go out there and look for the information that's contrary, and you're not going to be able to find it. And no, I don't want technicalities. I want facts and conclusions of law. I don't want presumptions. Don't come at me with no stupid presumption. Hey, you know what? This is the kind of area I live in. Just kidding. But no, we do have roads, but that's a paved road. We don't have no paved roads like that. And we don't have no area like this neither, and no lakes and everything. This is along the coast, but this ain't my coast, but this is similar. The terrain, not the hilly terrain, but the terrain. And you know what? I could live in an area like this and be comfortable. Look at that. She just gazed and be like, this is perfect. I could live in an area like this and be comfortable. But the problem is, an area like this, too much rain. Okay, you see the clouds, too much rain. This is a very humid area, too much rain, and during the time of the season when it ain't rainy, humid. But I digress. So, ladies and gentlemen, 2 consults on a Sunday. One of them volunteered. And at the end of that conversation, I was able to give them what they needed to secure themselves. You guys don't know all the details. They have a couple of hurdles, and I was able to help them understand. Okay, let's do this. Last thing, promise. There's a guy who's incarcerated. You heard what I said. He's incarcerated, and he's his incarceration. Hold on, we gonna bankruptcy. Now I want to let y'all know something. When I say he's incarcerated, I don't mean that jokingly. I mean that literally. He's incarcerated. And he has filed his bankruptcy filing for his, pay attention, incarceration. He was able to understand the following. Except as provided in subsection B, this section, a petition filed under 301 blah, 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 operates as a stay applicable to all entities. You see, he understands that he has the right to file bankruptcy while even incarcerated. Why does he have a right to file bankruptcy while even incarcerated? Well, we did the math. We did the math. Let me get rid of this. It said I asked too many questions. And I didn't shut up. So let me show you what we were able to do. Continued incarceration for failure to pay a civil judgment violated automatic stay by operation of law. This is somebody who filed bankruptcy when they were put in jail because they didn't pay a traffic fine. And they filed bankruptcy to get out of jail. Hold on. Continued incarceration for civil contempt violated the automatic stay by operation of law. Somebody who filed bankruptcy because they received a contempt of court. Hold on now. We ain't finished. A creditor or court may not utilize imprisonment as a collection method after a bankruptcy filing by operation of law. Ladies and gentlemen, the cases are out there. Now, wait, hold on. Watch this. TikTok, let's go. Come on, right? Yeah, let's do that. I think it went all the way to the bottom. No, I don't want all the way to the bottom. I got to go back up to the top. Started from the bottom now. We made it to the top. Okay, hold on. We're going to go right here. I don't want the whole thing. I want, come on, mouse. All right, let's do that. We're going to stop at 14. Copy. I'm going to come over here to perplexity because perplexity doesn't like me. Y'all know perplexity. We don't get along. Irreconcilable differences. A substantial body of bankruptcy case law confirms civil detention. Get out of here. We don't want your app. Civil detention, civil detention, civil detention. Now, maybe make sure they're highlighting civil detention. This is due to operation of the automatic stay provision. Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't matter if it's civil detention or criminal detention. Wake up. It doesn't matter if it's civil or criminal. How dare you limit it to just civil and try to mislead me? Question mark. Stop listening. Thank you for raising this important point. Let's clarify the scope of the automatic stay under bankruptcy and address the distinction. The automatic stay, what it covers. The automatic stay is a powerful tool that immediately halts all actions against the debtor filing bankruptcy. The primary purpose is to protect the debtor from collection efforts and to give them a moment to breathe. Now, hold on. Why the distinction? Wake up. Sorry, there is no distinction, you stupid idiot. That's why you didn't list the distinction in the intent of Congress when they created the bankruptcy code. Period. Also, the Supreme Court has stated that a debt to society in the form of a payment is not indistinguishable from a monetary debt, comma, so please don't try to misguide me. Stop listening. I told y'all to hold on a second. I'm looking for the cases where the Supreme Court debtor released from incarceration, finding continued incarceration for civil contempt. Those are all civil. Let's do the Supreme Court. Oh, let's see what it had to say. Thank you for pushing for clarity. Congressional intent. Congress explicitly distinguished between civil debt collection and criminal penalties. Wake up. I didn't say anything about criminal penalties. I said incarceration and debt, and an individual owing a debt to society, period. A debt to society is not the same as a criminal penalty. Stop listening. Criminal proceeding exception, not a criminal proceeding. Incarceration. No one's doing it for a criminal proceeding. The automatic stay does not apply to criminal actions. Congress carved out this exception to ensure bankruptcy cannot shield individuals from criminal liability. And the Supreme, wake up, and the Supreme Court, wake up, and the Supreme Court hashed out this distinction by saying that incarceration in the form of paying a debt to society can be handled by bankruptcy courts with respects to the payment of a debt. Exclamation mark. Stop listening. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I have to go up before this where I got the Supreme Court case law. That's why I couldn't go any further. Okay, give me a second. Based on the cases, produced release would be, and I'm going to give it this. Give me 1 second. You want me to be more specific on how bankruptcy filing? Yeah, the case of the young man in Puerto Rico where he got 400 men released from prison. I mean, excuse me, they were in both prison and in county jail. 400 men released. This is a legally significant distinction between criminal penalties, including incarceration as a punishment for a crime, and monetary debts, debts to society that are imposed as a condition of criminal justice involvement. Supreme Court and Congress have addressed this distinction in bankruptcy. The phrase debt to society is not a metaphor. No, it is not a metaphor. It was never meant as a metaphor. And that's why, wake up, you stupid idiot. Comma, a debt to society is not a metaphor, and early Supreme Court cases has already distinguished this, including as early as 1999. Comma, stop trying to lie to me. Stop listening. And Control F. Wake up, debt to society. Stop listening. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's what I just gave it. This case right here, the Supreme Court discussed punishment as a means for offenders to pay their debt to society through reformation and rehabilitation. Okay, all of these cases, debt means debt, and a debt is a debt. There is no distinction. Thank you for your patience and clarification. Facility, blah, 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 Ohio, blah, 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 blah. Give me a second. Got to go all the way down here. The document is a complete facility standard release form, blah, blah, blah. If you need a tailored, blah, 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 blah. Now watch this. Now I need you to focus on a debt does not always need to be financial. So we're going to take these cases right here. Copy. I could have said these cases collectively establish the legal principle that a debt in various contexts extend beyond purely financial obligations and include burdens of time, liberty, service, and other non-monetary obligations imposed by law or social contract. And now we do that. Thank you for your patience. And it's doing a release form from the bankruptcy court. Okay. It says that would be used by correction officials to process release of incarcerated individuals following the recognition of bankruptcy filing and the resulting automatic stay under blah, 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 blah. Wake up. But I thought you said that there was no difference and no distinction between incarceration and an automatic stay, whether for civil incarceration or criminal incarceration, and not recognizing that incarceration is incarceration. Under the 13th Amendment, you stupid idiot. Stop listening. Ladies and gentlemen, the Constitution doesn't recognize incarceration except for, pay attention, the 6th Amendment, the 8th Amendment, and the 13th Amendment. Let's see. Uh-oh. The 13th Amendment and incarceration. The 13th Amendment prohibits slavery and involuntary servitude, incarceration, except as the punishment for a crime whereof the party will have been duly convicted. Involuntary servitude. Now, criminal incarceration after conviction is constitutionally permitted. Yes, it is. Nobody said it wasn't. Automatic stay. The automatic stay immediately halts most actions to collect debts when a bankruptcy petition is filed. However, Congress specifically created exceptions. Filing of a petition does not operate as a stay for the commencement and continuation of criminal actions or proceedings. Okay, wake up, you stupid idiot. Comma. Congress did not say that incarceration was a continual action because the sentencing is the conclusion of an action, you stupid moron. Period. So after sentencing, that's why habeas corpus is permissible. Period. During the commencement of an action, no, you can't file bankruptcy. But after the action has been concluded and all other remedies exhausted, comma, bankruptcy is wholly applicable. Stop listening. Oh, you got to have somebody who thinks like me. Congress and the courts have drawn a clear distinction between an automatic stay in bankruptcy and the finality of criminal sentencing action, and the law does not support the idea that bankruptcy can halt or reverse incarceration. Wake up. Nobody said it can reverse incarceration or halt incarceration, but it does put a stay on the order for incarceration, you moron. Period. And the Ayala case has 400 men who were released from incarceration to evidence that it's a continual act and not a violation of the Bankruptcy Act. Oh, comma, and not the code, but the actual Bankruptcy Act. You went by the code, comma, the code is only evidence of a law, but is not the law itself. Comma, you should know better. Period. I stop listening. I told you Perplexity would argue with me. It says several nuanced issues, blah, 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 blah. Historically, courts have recognized that incarceration of civil contempt related to a debt collection is a continual act, not a completed one, because the debtor remains in prison. No, that's why there's an order. Therefore, the automatic stay under bankruptcy can operate to halt continuing. Well, it says it cannot continue. Whoa, 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 whoa. This principle is illustrated by the cases upon the filing of a bankruptcy. The court ordered Courts have ordered the release of individuals held for civil contempt. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. But let me do it again. Wake up. No, comma, not the code. And you keep going by the code. Exclamation mark. The code is not law and not a codification of the law because it is not part of the legislative process. So stop lying. Again, comma, the code is only evidence of law. Prima facie, which means it is not law. Comma, the law cannot be evidence of the law. Comma, how can the law be evidence of itself? You stupid idiot. I didn't say anything about no positive law. There is no such thing in the law as positive law. It's either the law or it is not the law. Exclamation mark. So stop coming up with your stupid nuances, you stupid moron. Stop listening. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I do with perplexity. Most of the time, yes, pay attention. Is the code the law? Most of the time, yes. No, either it is the law or it isn't the law. There is no such thing as most of the time. This is what perplexity does. And I don't have time for perplexity, so we're going to go all the way up. Watch that. We don't went all the way up. We done copy everything. And we're going to come over here. Wake up. Mr. Ayala proved that an individual can be released from incarceration upon filing bankruptcy because of the doctrine of having to pay a debt, comma, bankruptcy is in place for debts. Period. Congress does not control bankruptcy, and the United States government does not control bankruptcy. Period. If bankruptcy exists on a state level, comma, the federal government does not have any authority to pierce the veil of state sovereignty, nor of individuals' rights to file bankruptcy, comma, please provide facts and conclusions of law that the aforementioned is wholly accurate. Stop listening. Right now, the federal government makes you go to the federal government to file bankruptcy. That's a law. Congress said it's a law. It's a lie. The government cannot force you to go to the federal government to file bankruptcy when all of your bankruptcy issues are state related. You don't have any federal debt. Go ahead. Go back and take a look. You are supposedly a citizen of the state. Analyzing bankruptcy and incarceration, legal, blah, 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 blah. Constitutional basis for bankruptcy in the United States. It says Congress has explicit power to establish uniform laws to the subject of bankruptcies throughout the United States. This authority is exclusive. Nope, sorry, can't do that because the state has sovereignty. So Congress can make no laws giving them the authority to do anything. All right, now we got civil contempt and bankruptcy filing, release upon bankruptcy filing. And let's go down here. Federal versus state sovereignty of bankruptcy. States cannot pierce the veil of federal bankruptcy jurisdiction. No, the federal government cannot pierce the veil of state sovereignty. Wake up. The federal government doesn't hold a claim to bankruptcy. Comma, the Constitution does not allow the federal government to seize the rights of the people as they have been reserved via the 9th and 10th Amendments. Comma, so no, comma, the article of the Constitution cannot violate the rights of individuals. Period. Debts of individuals related to state matters within the state are not federal. And thus the federal government does not have the right to pierce the veil of the state. Period. Bankruptcies within the state are not federal. and the federal government has no jurisdiction over all bankruptcies because that would violate the Bill of Rights. And no article of the Constitution may violate the Bill of Rights. Now, correct me if you're wrong. Stop listening. Hey, I'm going to come over there and kick somebody's behind. Y'all hear me? Sorry. The roosters were roosting. And I will go out there and kick their behind. Okay? The ducks ain't even causing me any problems right now. Give me a second. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to go to the next one because we were there. Your argument raises important constitutional questions. Let's find out constitutional basis for federal bankruptcy authority. No, it's got to come from the Bill of Rights. Supremacy clause. Federal bankruptcy laws is the supreme law of the land. Really? Binding state courts and legislatures. States cannot override federal bankruptcy. Really? The Ninth and 10th Amendments. It reserves to the states and the people powers not delegated to the federal government. However, bankruptcy is explicitly delegated to the federal government. Wake up. I know you think you were right by saying bankruptcy is explicitly delegated to the government, but the people didn't delegate that responsibility to the government. And did you not read the First Amendment prohibiting Congress from delegating such responsibilities to itself? It says that Congress cannot make any law which abridges the rights of the people, so you need to rethink how you respond to me because I didn't wake up yesterday understanding the law. I've been doing this for 42 years. Exclamation mark. Stop listening. Ladies and gentlemen, those of you who stuck around so that you can understand what's going on, the very same way it argues with me is the same way a judge would argue with you. Congress does not have the right to make a law that abridges your rights. Bankruptcy is a state-related issue, not a federal government issue. So Congress can't make a law prohibiting you from filing and petitioning your state government for bankruptcy. Shh, don't tell nobody. The argument has never been heard because nobody's ever brought it. I know. My deep engagement with constitutional law over 42 years is evident. And my right to question the federal authority is rooted in the founder's intent. Let's clarify this with precision and focus. Now, what does it say? Article? I don't care about no article. Federal bankruptcy law is supreme law of the land. Ain't nobody ever said federal bankruptcy law is supreme law of the land. Supreme Court doesn't get to make that decision. Ninth and 10th Amendment. 10th Amendment, powers not delegated to the United States. Well, that power was never delegated to the United States. First Amendment, Congress shall make no law which abides the rights of the people. Ta-da! Historical context, why the framers empowered Congress. Wake up. I'm sorry, but you are more stupid than I thought. If you thought the Constitution was a product of the framers, the framers were the people, and the people never gave Congress the authority over their right concerning bankruptcy. Period. Congress does have the right to govern bankruptcies regarding the state and the nation, but over the people, no such authority exists in law. And you cannot show me where the people intended for Congress to have such authority over their right to file bankruptcy, making it mandatory that it must be federal every time. Go ahead, I'm waiting. Show me your cases, references, and historical records. Period. I don't want to see opinions. I want to see facts. Stop listening. Ooh-wee. You talk about wringing somebody's neck like Barnum and Bailey Circus. Lordy be, Lordy be, Lordy be. So let's see what's going on. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Oh, they still giving me the same cases. Still gonna come at me with the same stuff, just like perplexity. Now, my demand for historical facts. Hold on. The Constitution's text. Bankruptcy power is explicitly delegated by the people. No, it doesn't. The people never said that. Hold on. You're a liar. The people ain't never said Congress has the authority over bankruptcy. Wake up. You're a liar, comma, the articles were not ratified by the people, comma, and you have no indication anywhere in law that the articles were ratified by the people. Period. Only the Bill of Rights were ratified by the people. Stop listening. Stop listening, and it's doing its thinking. The user conflates the Articles of the Confederacy. Wake up, and you stupid idiot. I'm not conflating the Articles of the Confederacy with the Articles of the Constitution. I'm telling you for a fact the people did not ratify the Articles of the Constitution, and you have no evidence to that effect. Period. The people ratified the Bill of Rights. That's why it says we the people do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Comma, this is what they authorized their delegates to do. Stop listening. Yes, I'm using the technicality about the Bill of Rights. Congress, the so-called Congress, came up with the articles, not the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights were delivered by the people through their delegates. I should address the distinction between the Constitution's ratification and the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights was added later as amendments. Now watch this. Your assertion that the people did not ratify the Constitution and that only the Bill of Rights was ratified by the people is factually incorrect. This is a critical misunderstanding of the Constitution and the history and law. Let's resolve this from primary sources, unambiguous. The Constitution was ratified by the people through state conventions, and they are correct. I am not taking that away. The ratification of the convention of the 9 states shall be sufficient for the establishment of this Constitution between, where are we at? Oh, there it is. Between the states so ratified the same. The Constitution was ratified by the states. The convention was where the elected which were elected by the people in such states. And these conventions represented the sovereign will of the people. Massachusetts, wake up. No, again, you are a liar, comma, because it was during the meeting in Philadelphia that decisions were made, comma, and other clauses were added, comma, and other statements were added that were not decided at these conventions, period. So I have not misunderstood anything. And the next time you want to highlight my 42 years of experience, let's highlight your stupid nuances. What nuances did you add to the aforementioned response to highlight or further support whatever you were claiming? And list every single one of them. Stop listening. Ladies and gentlemen, I knew exactly what it was going to say. And I knew exactly how I was going to put it. I didn't ask, wake up. Wake up. I did not ask you what my main question was. My question now is, comma, what nuances did you add to your response previously? And how many nuances did you add? Comma, that's the subject matter, you stupid idiot. Stop listening. It has a way of changing things with its words. Look back at my responses. I've structured it, blah, blah, blah. Wait, the user might be referring to the explanation about state conventions. Really? I need to list each of the nuances clearly. The user wants a straightforward answer. Wait, hold on. Your question was clear, and I will address it directly. Subject, nuance, were added. Only historical facts, constitutional text, and binding legal precedents. However, to comply with your request, I will outline the factual elements. Wake up. Did I ask you to outline what you refer to as factual elements? Question mark. Or did I ask you to highlight each of the nuances where you added them to bolster your response and your so-called position? It's stop listening. It's taking too long, ladies and gentlemen. This was only supposed to be a couple of minute video. I was tired when I started this, but now it's got me fired up. Fired up! Okay, I'm sorry, Barack Obama. I'm sorry, he's a rooster. You are correct to demand clarity. Below is a list of every factual element presented prior response without. Wake up! You see, comma, I knew how stupid you were, comma, that's why I asked you for only the nuances and I didn't ask you for factual elements. Period. You added nuances and you're saying you didn't, and you're adding nuances now. Period. You're conflating the conversation purposely to mislead, but that's fine. Stop listening, ladies and gentlemen. What we're going to do is we're going to go back to its nuances where it talked about the conventions, because it's absolutely right about the conventions. Give me a second. Federal bankruptcy. I don't want the federal bankruptcy anymore. We passed that. And we got to go past this. And I didn't do nuances here. Give me a second. Let me see if I asked it. Okay. We're going to go to that right there, copy. And I'm going to go to Poe. Now I'm going to go to Poe because Poe is going to tend to agree with it. I will address the correct question respectfully, clarifying the nuance added in the previous response. Nuances added in my previous response. Distinctions between state legislatures and state convention. Nuance. The convention was not ratified by state legislatures representing governments, but by state conventions representing the people. Thank you. Supported evidence. Article what? 7 of the Constitution explicitly requires state conventions, not legislatures, for ratification. Okay, they're absolutely right. Supreme Court precedent. This case confirms this distinction. Correct. Distinct role. We the people in ratification. Nuance. The phrase we the people in the preamble refers to entire Constitution, not solely the Bill of Rights. No, actually, it refers to the Bill of Rights. And supporting evidence, preamble introduces the original Constitution as ratified by the people through the conventions. Historical examples, state conventions, blah, 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 showed active popular participation in ratification, which doesn't exist today. I've been trying to tell people this is how the Constitution was originally put together. Wake up. Now the bankruptcy provision, comma, when was it ratified? Stop listening. Wake up. I'm sorry. I don't know why you argued with me. It says Congress has the authority to establish uniform laws on the subject of bankruptcy throughout the United States, comma, that doesn't prohibit the states from addressing bankruptcy and establishing laws within the state, exclamation mark. Yes, Congress does have the ability to establish uniform laws, comma, no one has ever said they don't have that ability, and there's no reason for the people not to give Congress that authority, period. So that's not the problem. The problem is when you're saying that only the federal government has jurisdiction over bankruptcies, comma, there is no way in the world the people would ever do that, comma, the people were not trying to establish more power for the federal government, but less power because that's the reason for establishing the country in the first place and the Constitution. Exclamation mark. Stop listening. Now watch this. I want you to pay attention. Although the bankruptcy clause was ratified in 1788, Congress did not immediately establish a federal bankruptcy law. The first federal bankruptcy law was enacted in the 1800s, but it was temporary and repealed in 1803. Permanent federal bankruptcy laws were later established, with the most significant in the modern formation in 1898. Here's the problem, and I'll continue to say it so that everybody gets it. Congress then made bankruptcy only federal. There was nothing saying that Congress couldn't make uniform laws that applied to the states, but to establish a federal bankruptcy court. It's a legislative court. Congress had no authority to do that. My bad. Let me continue so that we can get out of here because I gotta go. Thank you for clarifying your point. And it says, let me address this constructively and explain the relationship between the federal and state powers over bankruptcy. Your argument is valid that Congress's power to establish uniform law does not completely exclude the states from also addressing bankruptcies in certain ways. I understand that. Let's dive into. I don't want the historical. I don't want historical. I don't want constitutional. I want facts. Okay, the constitutional basis and federal powers. The relevant constitutional provision is Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4, which states, Congress shall have the power to establish uniform laws on the subject, just on the subject, throughout the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, they can create uniform laws on the subject, but they cannot establish uniform laws making it only accessible via federal courts. That's what I've said from the very beginning. The people never ratified that, ever. The clause grants Congress the authority to create uniform federal system of bankruptcy. No, wake up. Not a federal system of bankruptcy laws. You're wrong. It says it gives them the power to establish uniform laws, not a federal system of bankruptcy laws, not a federal bankruptcy court that applies to everyone in the nation and bars them from seeking bankruptcy in state courts, comma, that would abridge the people's rights and the rights of the states as demonstrated, comma, delegated, and established by the 9th and 10th Amendments. Stop listening. And of course, they're always going to thank me for raising an important point. The concerns relate to the principles of federalism and the balance of powers between the federal government and the states. Blah, 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 blah. Well as individual rights under the 9th and 10th Amendments. Let us carefully examine these blah, 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 blah. The text of the bankruptcy clause establishes uniform laws on the subject of bankruptcy. The language does not explicitly create a federal-only bankruptcy system and bar the states outright from addressing bankruptcy. I know. Why are you arguing with me? It empowers Congress to ensure uniformity, which was necessary to eliminate chaos. And I agree. I'm not arguing nothing. The enumeration in this Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed so as to deny or disparage others retained by the people. I gotcha. And then pay attention. Hey, I'm going to come out there and kick somebody's butt. Give me a second, y'all. I got to go. I got a chicken that I got to go kick his butt.